Yeah, we're gonna be talking guns. Are really good storytellers, Mr. Ballin. Okay. And Yarn Hub. I don't know why I said why Arn Hub, because it did it weird. It didn't bring the Y with the rest of Yarn. That's weird. Mr. Ballin. I'm pretty sure I've watched Ballin. So I'm pretty sure I have, but I don't remember off the top of my head. So, but yeah, we're gonna watch Brandon Herrera. What I say? Brandon Berberba. So I called him. That's creepy stories. Ooh, nice. But this came out a couple weeks ago, and I haven't actually gotten to watch it. But I used the machine gun in self-defense shooting. That's kind of based. Not gonna lie, it's kind of based. So let's check out what Brandon's got for us. Want to do more Brandon stuff too. Want to just do more of everyone. That just sounds dirty. Never mind. I want to watch more of other people. Yeah, that's what. The forecast is. Brr. Yeah, exactly. True. Very true. If it's what you're most. Use it. Use what you got. Use what you're good with. Anyways,
every American has an unalienable right to self-defense. And thanks to the Second Amendment, every American has the right to defend themselves with a firearm, as the right to keep and to bear arms shall not be infringed. Now, where things...
Which is very true, which any of the laws that states pass, like a lot of them break that constantly. I'm not going to get into it. I will go on a tirade about the Second Amendment and how it's been neutered and butchered by states all across the nation. Like, some states are better and are a lot more free, but still have restrictions. And then we've got a whole bunch of stupid laws and acts. And I just want my fucking machine guns. Let me have my machine guns with no restrictions, okay? I know they're expensive. Kind of have to have money to own a machine gun because it's expensive to buy them and own the ammo. Let me just own them. I'm sound of mind. I'm not going to do something stupid. My state is open carry, but we'll see because we might. The latest law requires if you have a magazine-fed weapon that you have to buy a permit. You have to have a permit to buy the gun. Just stupid. But I can still go get a revolver and carry around on my hip. Or the Keltec. Keltec has a clip fed, which I actually want to buy that and pick it up. And when they're like, well, you have to sign this. No, I don't. That's a clip fed. That's not magazine fed. Just to piss them off. Just to loophole them. Clip fed, not magazine fed. I don't have to have a permit to buy this one. And like literally it's like go through the show. Yeah, I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to get into it because I'm going to get heated and yell at my state and give away everything about where I live. So not just like rough areas, but like, yeah. Anyways.
have gotten a little weird in the past is when sometimes the firearm that gets used isn't exactly what you'd think of when you think self-defense weapon. What happens if you were acting in self-defense, defending your own life,
that's what
but the weapon available to you is a machine gun?
It's a machine gun!
Now, while that might sound like a fun hypothetical question...
oh my god, I need to find that video of like the military recruits and they're learning how to shoot the M2. And the guy's like bursting with the M2. He's like, bah, 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 bah. Like he's bursting with it. And the instructor's like, it's a machine gun. Fucking lay into it. Just go. because with the M2s you don't want burst fire them. You don't want to hold it down for a brief second, let go, hold it down for a brief second, let go, hold it down for a brief second, let go. You want to actually hit the buttons and just go. It's not an A10 Warthog where you have to burst, because if you don't burst, you stall the plane and fall out of the air, because it's just a flying bathtub with wings and a gun. Yeah, it's all Medusa. That's all you do with the Medusa. You just, I'm out of ammo. Reload.
It is a real thing that did happen. And in my opinion, it's one of the most interesting self-defense incidents and subsequent court battles that nobody even seems to know about. So, to quote a friend,
hey, Nightway, yes, I do too. Let me drift with the same. I could see that. I'm pretty sure there's video footage of an A10 Warthog drifting while firing its gun. That'd be hilarious.
Today we're gonna talk about that one time that a guy legally used a machine gun.
Did you try to?
We're gonna talk about that one time that a guy legally used a machine gun in self-defense.
Brandon, you don't need to raise your voice. You just need to be quick about it. You just gotta sit there and go, today we're gonna talk about yeah, your voice is naturally going to pitch up, but you don't have to go up like that. You just gotta let it flow. And everyone will know you're making fun of Nick.
And what the hell happened in the court case to follow. This is the Gary Fadden incident. Meet Gary Fadden.
God, we're not even
Gary
like 50 seconds into this video.
For a renowned firearm manufacturing company,
anyways.
Heckler & Koch, or HK.
Hey,
Short
HK.
for German efficiency, and also because in America, Koch is funny. On the night of February 24th, 1984, he and his fiancée were driving their Ford pickup.
Speaking of HK, we are going to be getting the HK SP7 soon. And if you don't know what that is the civilian use MP7, which means it will have its selector firers will be safe and single. So it'll have a single shot, and it's an MP7 using the same ammo type as the MP7, which is 5.7. Pretty much it's an MP7 just single shot. Which also means I can hit a force reset trigger in it. Retail, they're looking at like, I think if you're a dealer, it's going to be like $2,600 to buy them, and then for retail, it's going to be like $3,600 to $4,200, which I would gladly pay to own an MP7 versus $28,000 and have to have all the fucking licenses and all that stuff. Sorry. Yeah, I think it's 5.7. I think that one's it's literally an MP7 or not. But if they do have 9, that'd be cool. That'd be a nice one. But yeah, I think it's going to be 5.7. Just means they need to produce a lot more 5.7 because 5.7 is fucking expensive. An AC1. Oh, I know. I've seen it.
Along Route 50 in Virginia. While they were driving, Gary was cut off by two guys on motorcycles and had to slam on his brakes to avoid an accident. Shortly thereafter, though, Gary noticed a shitty
that's
pickup truck
true.
was following
It's just gonna be
him. One of them was
expensive.
hanging out the window of that pickup truck, waving for him to pull over. It wasn't long after that he realized the guy that was waving for him to pull over was brandishing a knife, and the driver, a handgun. He turned to his fiancée and said, "We've got a bit of a problem here."
In the business, we call this foreshadowing.
He keeps coming up in both Nick and Brandon's videos. What the fuck? He's gonna be a guest soon.
Which, understatement of the year. In retrospect, it's a little bit like, he's right behind me, isn't he? This is probably a good time to mention that Gary was also
counting.
in his own truck.
That
He
is
had a
counting, isn't it?
9mm HK.
Holy shit, that is. I'm a fucking retard. You would think I would know who that is because I've seen him multiple times, but I'm apparently I'm in my own little bubble.
BP-70Z, and most important to the story, a Ruger AC-556. This is the select fire version of the Ruger Mini 14. And yes, you probably recognize it as the A-Team gun. I pity the fool who fucks with Gary while he's holding one of these, but that's exactly what happened. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Now, if you ask anybody who works at a gun company, they'll tell you you'll probably end up with a safe full of guns, some from your company, and others just because you're autistic. Gary purchased his Ruger AC-556 as a transferable machine gun. And since these events transpired in 1984, that means the 1986 Hughes Amendment had not passed.
I could go on about the Hughes Amendment and how it's a piece of shit amendment and how we should burn it to the ground, but I'm not going to do that. Just note that the Hughes Amendment fucks us. We don't get machine guns. Just let us have our fucking machine guns, please. Get rid of the Hughes Amendment. You're doing it right by making the tax stamp on short barrel to get short barrels for rifles and suppressors of $0. Just get rid of the NFA in general, but at least we're a step closer to doing that.
Meaning pretty much all machine guns were transferable at this point. To buy a machine gun was literally just the price of a tax stamp away. As no different than buying an SBR or a suppressor or whatever. Or at least the way it was before the big beautiful bill took the NFA tax stamp down from $200 to $0. Which really makes you wonder why it's even considered constitutional to have the NFA. I mean, the only reason they deemed it constitutional in 1934 is because the Supreme Court decided that Congress wasn't just registering the guns, they were registering the tax. Because Congress has the ability to levy tax, but not regulate the guns. But now that there's no tax, fuck it. Different time. Anyhow, adjusted for inflation, that $200 tax stamp back in '84 would have been like $650 today. Taking a moment of silence for the US dollar.
We'll recover.
Anyway, back to the pursuit.
We'll
When Gary
recover.
came to a stop at a red light, the two men jumped out of the Chevy and rushed Gary's truck. They tried to rip open his doors, but Gary just floored it through the red light and got away. Dumb and Dumber decided the best thing to do was to jump back into their truck and proceed to continue the chase. Now, let's put yourself in Gary's shoes for a moment. You're jamming the gas pedal to the floor. Your truck will not give you more than 95 miles an hour because it's a shitbox Ford. I own one, I can say that. I have the pass. Your fiance is in the passenger seat, probably freaking the fuck out because two bikers with guns are chasing you, which, I mean, valid. You have no ability to reach out for help because this is long before everybody had a cell phone, and the gas tank.
Yeah, and like the best way to put it is if you had a cell phone, you were paying by the minute, and it wasn't cheap. It was like $1 a minute. Not to mention to buy a cell phone back then in '84, you could get one. '84 was the first year you could buy a cell phone, and it was like, I mean, it was the price of an iPhone now. It was like $1,200 for a cell phone that you had to pay per minute. So you didn't really use it. It was just a nice piece. Most likely you had a pager, and that was about it. And even then, that was expensive. And that, again, that was still like $800 in 1980s money, which is equivalent to like $2,000, $3,000 now. And you were lucky to get, so yeah, exactly. You were lucky if you had service because it was only certain major cities, LA, New York, Miami, and Washington, D.C., that really had service for them. If you're in the Midwest, most of like anywhere else that wasn't like a major city, you probably didn't have any signal.
Won't last forever. But what you do have is a fully automatic rifle sitting on your dashboard that you have literally never shot before. You know where the safety is and how to load it, but that's about it. And you have zero idea if the selector is set to semi-auto, 3-round burst, or full auto. Once again,
In the business, we call this foreshadowing.
if you want a chance to win up to $500 in Bass Pro gift cards, then stay tuned as we thank our sponsor, Trophy Hunter. First, download Trophy Hunter. Second, unlock Arena 4, where you get your first unlock spin. Then you can unlock Arena 7, where you get your
I'm in the middle
spin.
of the nation as
Copy
well,
your player
so
ID and then go spin the wheel
there are
over
days
at
that
trophyhunterchallenge.com.
I have
Legit won a
bad
couple of Bass Pro gift
connection,
cards. The
but
biggest
I
one was
also know that they're
$100,
working
which will
on
be going
stuff.
towards things. They're giving over
By they, I
$30,000
mean,
away in Bass
well,
Pro
you
gift
know
cards.
who.
2 hunters, same target, 3 bullets, winner takes
Hi,
all.
Cat.
They have over 20 rifles with
You're
real
being
stat
very
differences,
needy.
and 17
You're being good
different
tech
arenas
support.
with
Thank
different
you.
terrains like jungles, forests, deserts, you name it. Download the game and use my code, and you can get some extra Beretta bullets. And again, unlock arenas 4 and 7 to get 2 free spins. Every spin wins something. This giveaway ends June 30th, so download today and let me know what you won. And of course, before we get back to Gary Fadden, as always, I'd like to take a moment to thank the Sonoran Desert Institute for being a friend of the channel. If you want to get
Yep,
started
exactly.
with gunsmithing and weapons
I need to fix
technology and
that,
you're not sure where to
but
turn,
they still work
maybe
with
consider checking out sdi.edu using the links down in the description and in the pinned comment. Now, obviously, using a weapon and lethal force for self-defense is a last resort. But at this point, Gary had been trying to flee for 17 miles, running stoplights.
Yeah, at this point,
desperately
that's
trying
like
to get away
legal
from his
defense.
attackers. He also couldn't find a single police officer he could flag down, and again, this is before the age of the cell phone. They finally rounded a corner to Chantilly Road,
You're in the
the
south-ish,
HK factory where Gary worked. He decided
where it's a
quickly that
little
he could
more,
use a security card to
you
get
have
through
a
the
lot more
security
free
gate of the
reign.
facility, and then from there try to find a phone where he could call the police for help. This plan fell apart instantly. While the security gate took its sweet-ass time to open, the pursuers in the Chevy caught up. One of the men in the truck jumped out and began to approach Gary on foot. At this point, it was abundantly clear that Gary was not going to find a phone in time. This was probably going to be a fight. So he did the only thing there was left for him to do. Gary grabbed the Ruger AC-556 and told his fiancée to get down on the floorboards of the truck. He threw open the door and stepped out of the vehicle. Visibly holding the rifle, he shouted, "Stop or I'll shoot." I think it's also important to note at this point, Gary's a 6'8" man holding the fucking Mr. T gun. One would think this might cause someone to pause and reconsider their choices.
And the best.
Now, just a reminder from the sources that we read, Gary had never fired this gun before. Which of the fire selector settings is it on? Semi? Full auto? What's the rate of fire like? How's the recoil impulse? These are all things he doesn't know. He's going in completely blind. All he knows at this point is that that rifle is the best chance he has at keeping him and his fiancée safe. He decided to point the muzzle upward and fire a warning shot. This is also
I feel like this is going to tell him exactly what he does. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Always train people. Yep, always train. Yeah, shooting upwards, not always the smartest thing to do. Right? It really isn't the smartest thing. Gravity does, affect bullets. Insane.
the moment he found out exactly what selector position it was in. The rifle was set to full auto and it popped off 9 rounds in one burst. Shockingly unfazed, this dickhead kept closing the distance, a knife in each hand. He then shouted, "Fuck you and your high-powered rifle. I'm gonna kill you, motherfucker." Darwin Award.
Yeah,
At this
seriously.
point, Gary gets a sight picture on his assailant, squeezes the trigger, and stitches him with a 6-round burst. This string of fire instantly kills the man we would later learn was Billy Too Loose Hamilton, a biker whose toxicology report would later indicate he had a BAC of 0.19 at the time. For reference, in the United States, the legal limit before you are too intoxicated to drive is 0.08. But all 6 rounds struck him, one of them even.
Oh no, yeah. By that time in '84, yeah, we had finally, because I think it was like the late '70s, early like 78, 79, 80, 81, 82 when we had a national average for blood alcohol content. Yeah, I want to say that's about when we had it. So I think the national average at that time probably would have been 1.0 or 0.1. So 10% or yeah, 0.1%.
blowing out a piece of his spine after his body twisted once the initial rounds impacted. So it is completely accurate to say that a man named Too Loose came after another man who then proceeded to blow his back out.
Remember to lube up, children. Meth sure is something. I know, right? Yeah, they seriously do. Oh,
See, this is why I could never be a reporter. Now, instead of attempting to retreat at this point, the driver of the Chevy instead decided to run him over. Gary then dived behind cover to escape being, hit by a fucking truck. The pickup then stopped, and the driver then screamed, "Fuck you. You killed one of our brothers. You shot him, motherfucker." Undoubtedly deep in fight or flight mode by this point, Gary once again leveled his Ruger AC-556, got a sight picture on his assailant. But before he squeezed the trigger, he noticed the man turned away in an effort to go hide his handgun back in his truck. This is when Gary noticed the lights and sirens. The police had finally arrived, and now it was up to them to figure out
What the hell happened here?
They learned that the driver was another biker that went by the name of Papa Zoot. Officers
run that back. Hold on. Wait, what?
learned that the driver was another biker that went by the name of Papa Zoot. Officers found 2 loaded handguns.
The 80s. 80s. It's the 80s. Papa Zoot probably sounded really cool back in the 80s. It's the 80s. I would never want to be called that.
Guns in the truck, one of them being a .357 revolver. Here's the catch on
The
that.
fuck is it? Which
That
I know,
.357
right?
Magnum revolver had 3 live rounds and 3 empty casings still in the cylinder. There was a spent pile of brass in the truck and an open bag of ammunition on the seat, all seeming to point to the fact that the bikers were shooting at him. Now, Gary claims he never heard any of the shots, but I think the evidence speaks for itself. Now, with all the details, this seems like an open-shut self-defense case, but that didn't stop Gary from being arrested that night and charged with first-degree murder. His family did raise $60 grand in bail money. Gary hired Jerry Traynor, a well-respected DC area attorney. Traynor could see this case for what it was, a self-defense shooting. But while it was self-defense, there was no legal precedent for a case like this.
First and foremost, though, I do need to bring this up. First-degree murder. That requires intent. Like, even in the 80s, you can't, like, first-degree murder means you had pre-planned to go out and murder this man. Second degree is murder of passion. Like, it just came, like, oh, I get the chance to kill this guy. I want to kill this man. And I get to do it now, and I all I've got is a knife, so fuck it, I'm stabbing him. First degree is, all right, this is how I'm going to do this, blah, blah. I'm going to lure him over here. We're going to talk, and then I'm just going to stab him. That's first degree. So, yeah, our legal system is very drunk.
It was clear that by the letter of the law, Gary had acted in self-defense, but what would a jury think? Out the gate, Traynor was able to get the charges reduced down to second-degree murder.
That
And
makes
they
more
proceeded
sense.
then to trial. Now, this was no ordinary trial. I mean, this got very high profile very quickly, as you can imagine. The courthouse even made all in attendance go through a metal detector, which is pretty unusual, especially for 1984. The Fairfax County Sheriff had it on good authority that there were going to be some planned disruptions, and one prosecution witness even testified that Fadden would be shot if he walked out of that courtroom. Papa Zoot, you remember the other biker, even swore a blood oath that he was going
It's
to
a blind
kill
drunk,
Gary.
yeah,
He even
seriously.
picked up a shiny new .30-06 to try to do the job. And partially due to this media frenzy, the prosecution smelled blood in the water. Initially, Gary was vilified by the prosecution for shooting him in the back. The press, of course, not only picked up on this point, but the fact that Gary used a fully automatic weapon. It's reported that the prosecution was waving the AC-556 all over the courtroom, much like the prosecutor from the Kyle Rittenhouse case. It was
That threw me. That pissed me off so much. That case pissed me off so much. Not like the like their evidence and stuff like that. Whatever. That's one thing. But when the prosecution grabbed the gun and they're showing it to the jury and to the people that were in the courtroom, and they were just like barrel people's heads right looking right down the barrel and everything. I'm like, oh my god, no, you don't. And like finger in the trigger well, and you're like, yeah, well, you have a magazine. You don't. No, that's breaking 2 rules. You don't do that. If you're going to showcase, this is what he did, and you pull up the gun and you put it to your shoulder, you point it towards a wall where you know there's no one at, and you're like, bam, okay, and you never put your finger in the trigger well, because even though you think it's unloaded, it might not be. I know it's in the courtroom, but who knows? Maybe they never cleared out. There was a round still in the chamber. You accidentally pulled the trigger and you killed a jury member. Now you're up for trial. I know, right?
It's clear that the prosecution's primary legal strategy was not the facts of the case, but instead the fact that Gary had used a machine gun to defend himself. Immediately after the prosecution was done flagging the courtroom, the judge then stepped in and reminded the jury that the type of weapon used does not affect the validity of a self-defense claim, which is both legally accurate and based. Traynor claimed that Gary was a trustworthy and law-abiding member of the community who was terrorized by the two bikers. He characterized Papa Zoot and Toulouse as long-haired, bearded bikers that were prone to violence. And if I could just jump in for a moment, I believe this claim is heavily supported by the fact that they decided to chase a man and his fiancée 17 miles while firing guns at them, all while fucking hammered.
Not a great plan.
Anyhow, he argued that Gary had acted in self-defense to
He thinks he's called,
an
I know,
act of
right?
terrorism comparable to anything you've seen in the movies or on TV. Gary's attorney Traynor then produced two expert witnesses that can actually talk about self-defense shootings because, frankly, they had been there and done that. John Farnham and Massad Ayub were two of the leading firearm training experts of their day. This would be like if Travis Haley was called to testify in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. But Farnham and Ayub never got a chance to testify because they didn't have to. The prosecution was doing such a flawless job of fucking up their own case that Traynor decided that they didn't even need to appear. The prosecution also apparently correctly identified how bad they were fucking it up. They even got desperate enough that they offered to drop Gary's charge down to manslaughter. Gary told them to get fucked. It's not a direct quote, but hey, creative licenses. When it came time for the jury to find a verdict, the judge told them that Gary should be found innocent if they believed that the bikers, and I quote, intended and endeavored to take his life and do him great bodily harm. The judge elaborated that in such a case, Gary would have, quote, a right to stand his own ground, repel force with force, and if need be, slot motherfuckers. Okay, that last part's not the quote. Kill his adversary to save his own life. The verdict? The jury found that Gary was acting in self-defense. So despite all the media and political circus around this case, Gary was free. The prosecution began absolutely crashing out, even screaming at the judge, "You let a murderer loose." Very professional behavior. I'm shocked they didn't win. Justice for Toulouse. It had, however, been a very expensive trial. The bill for Gary's legal fees totaled up to $45,000, which is about $140 grand in 2026 inflation funny money. But luckily, Gary didn't have to fight this entirely out of his own pocket, because HK actually stepped up and covered half of all of his legal bills. It's up to you to decide whether HK did this because it was the right thing to do and they were protecting one of their guys, or if it's because Gary was an HK employee who basically shot a guy in their driveway. Would HK have done this if Gary had shot a guy with that AC-556 10 feet off the property? Who knows? This is either based HK or cover your ass HK. But either way, they did help Gary out. We do know afterwards, however, there was some drama at HK. In fact, the HK USA CEO was told by a VP, quote, "It's either him or me," in reference to
both.
Gary. Was this over the shooting or
yeah,
not?
100%
Who knows?
both.
Could have just been internal politics. Either way, Gary did end up leaving for a job at Herrera. Also, I just want to make this clear. Obviously, this doesn't reflect on anybody still at HK, as this incident was 40 years ago. It's a safe assumption that
yeah, it's a lethal. Yeah. What was the quote? Fat electrician, Nick, the fat electrician, was talking to a doctor. He's like, you just see a lot more wounds from 5.56 rounds and blah, blah, and it's how it's scary. He's like, well, yeah, that's because it's a survivable gunshot. When people got shot by someone with 30-06, they usually didn't make it to the hospital to be saved. It was usually the morgue, because getting shot by 30-06, which is used to take down elk and bigger animals, shoot a 160-pound to 180-pound person with that, they kind of don't keep living anymore. 5.56, it sounds scary. 5.56, oh, that's scary. It's 22. The bullet itself is a little bit bigger than a 22 caliber round, like overall, and it's a through and through weapon. That's why, like, you want scary, you go 300 blackout, slightly bigger than 5.56, but its entire purpose is to go in and dump all of its energy and be a subsonic in and stop. Like, pierce through, stop. Oh, now you've got an open wound that's not going through and through, and now you got multiple. That's kind of what 300 blackouts for. Not good for going through. Doesn't have a lot of range. It's definitely doesn't have the range of 5.56, but it's a little bit scarier, but it's still not as scary as 30-06. 30-06 will end someone really easy. .762 by 63, yeah. Yep, exactly, Rudy. 300 win, yeah, 300 win mag. That's another one to just end all, be all someone.
That anybody that was at a decision-making level at HK has either since died, retired, or is being preserved, Mr. House style, in a bunker beneath the HK factory. However, it's also probably safe to say that HK was probably not thrilled with all the media coverage and everything involved in the case. Turns out there might actually be such a thing as bad publicity. Ask me how I know. In refreshingly good news, Gary actually got his AC 556 back. This sounds reasonable for somebody who was found innocent, but sadly that's not always the case. And getting that particular rifle back was nothing to sneeze at, considering that a transferable Ruger AC 556 nowadays can sell for upwards of 20 grand. That being said, he later gave that gun to a friend who had supported him during the trial, stood by Gary even through all the media bullshit. When he gave his friend the gun that he had used to defend himself and his fiancée, he had embedded a brass plaque in the stock.
Hold on, let me see. It's like the story of when they wanted to. Yeah, which is, yeah. Let's reinforce where things aren't vital, type thing. Most planes can survive this. Let's not reinforce where the pilot is. The thing that's going to keep the plane in the air, the fuel tanks, stuff like that. Yeah.
Simply read, because you understand. Despite the financial help from HK, it took Gary 8 years to pay off the legal debt. It would be completely understandable for somebody in Gary's position to just be jaded about the entire experience, but not Gary. In regards to the incident, Gary was quoted as saying, "I've cherished every morning I've gotten up because I earned every moment of my life. I fought for it." From what we've been able to find, we believe Gary is still alive and well. We did attempt to contact him for this video just to set a few things straight, but with no success, which is why any personal information we were able to find out about Gary, we omitted from the video for privacy reasons, and I ask you to respect his privacy as well. We have to remember this entire video is about what may well be the worst day of his life. So if you were in the same situation, I'm sure you'd want the option of having your privacy too. Gary, on the off chance you are watching, please feel free to reach out, especially if I did fuck something up along the way of telling the story. I've been known to do that from time to time. Nobody's perfect. Except Ryan Gosling. But one last important note. I want to take a page out of Gary's book. I own this fully transferable Ruger AC 556, a machine gun that's legal to own for any civilian in the United States. Any non-felon who can have an NFA item anyway. Much like Gary gave his to his friend, I think this should belong to one of you, who have also stood by me, also through the media bullshit. I'm in the middle of fighting to get into Congress, and one of the reasons why I'm doing that
he's going to get
so
in.
I can continue
I
to
feel
protect
like
the
he's
Second
going to.
Amendment against people like the folks that tried to throw Gary in jail for defending his own life. Every $5 you spend toward the campaign is more ammunition in that fight. TV, radio, mailers. But by the end of next month, this gun will belong to one of our donors.
Ooh.
Why? because you understand. As far as facts of the case that were used in this video,
I need to
we
donate
relied
to
heavily on
Brandon's
news
campaign.
articles at the time.
Again.
Article from Masada Ayub himself, who you may remember as being one of the expert witnesses that was about to be used in the trial, forum posts, and so on. So if I got certain details on this case a little wrong, I apologize for that, but we attempted to take all the facts that were out there and compile the most comprehensive telling of this story. Because, and I hope you agree, I feel like this is a story that really needs to be told. Because as Americans, from day one, we've not only fought for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, but also for the right to defend those rights. But seriously, let me know if you'd like to see more videos like this. We will be doing a dedicated range video for the Ruger AC556 because I've got some spicy opinions about this platform and really the entire family tree of the M14. But as for this gun, let's just say there's definitely a reason that I bought it. Be sure to check to make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any of the fun stuff we've got coming up. So if you have ideas for videos like this, let me know down in the comments, or if you never want to see one again, let me know that too. That's also valuable. I appreciate you watching to the end, and I will see you sexy YouTube mother lovers in the next one. Thanks.
I won't mind it. I mean,
The prosecution.
See, this is why he's going to be a good congressman. He stumbles over his own words, and he's actually a decent person. No, it's a machine gun I would like to own, even if it's not the best. At least it's transferable, and I don't have to spend $40,000 for a transferable. You know, words are hard.